So I want to just talk about my childhood a little bit. Um, I had a pretty rough childhood for the first 4 years of my life. Probably you could argue I had a pretty good. I had sort of an extreme, like an extremely good and bad childhood. Like there were so many things that happened in my childhood, uh, that were so interesting, and then so many things that were so disgusting and terrible that I can't even explain uh, what it was like. But I I was focusing on my the experiences that I had as a child that were good just moments ago, and I wanted to just talk about like I remember snowball fights with my friends, building snow walls so that you'd be protected from the snowballs, and like throwing the snowballs around the corners and over top the snow walls that we built. Building snowmen. I'm thinking about these things because winter's coming up, and I have these memories now. I didn't have these memories years ago, in my 20s. I don't know why. I just forgot. And I've been in therapy a lot, but therapy's never helped me to remember. I just don't think the therapist really cared about bringing back old memories. Uh, I'm not really sure. I don't even think they really realized any of them. I've had like 10, not 10, but I've had like five, six, or maybe even seven therapists over the course of the last 10 years. Uh, I don't think any of them realized that I had lost memory. Uh, but I went to a rehab in 2019, 2020. Uh, yeah, in 2020, I mean. Sorry, I got that mixed up. My memory isn't the greatest, but I don't have dementia or anything like that. But I can remember most of my childhood now because that rehab gave me enough space that I started to think about why I was there or something. I don't really know what happened, but I started to remember my past, and I was surprised to remember a lot of bad things, and then I was very surprised to remember a lot of good things. And it's like I was like a shell of myself my entire 20 like my the last decade, like the 2010s until 2020. It was like I was just some kind of shell, and whatever was inside was emptiness. I don't know. I don't know what causes memory loss. I don't want to hear the scientific explanation, because all they could say is that brain tissue deteriorated. Well, I can tell you that brain tissue has regenerated, uh, and that's probably not even what's happening. By the way, it's something with my soul, something with understanding. I don't know, overstanding, knowing, having memory. I have memory now, so yeah, if I tell you I don't remember something, sometimes I really am just playing dumb. But not all the time. Sometimes I legitimately just can't remember. So it's not the time to remember. And so sometimes people like to bring things up when it's not time to remember or to think about certain things, in my opinion. That's why I don't like therapy, because it's like they're trying to get something out of you. Uh, besides your money. Even they're trying. It's like they're trying to get your memories out of you, your past trauma out of you. And I would just talk about my week with my therapist. That's all I would do. I didn't even bring out my past trauma or anything. I couldn't. For one thing, I couldn't remember it. For another thing, I wouldn't have brought it up even if I could remember it. And for another thing, uh, what that's about it. I just wouldn't bring it up. But I'll bring it up to a YouTube channel with some subscribers who I don't know at all, who might get something out of it instead of a therapist that you have to pay who doesn't give a shit. Anyway, not that there was maybe one or two who gave a shit in their own way, I guess. I don't know. They still take money for people's feelings, so that's not looking great. Anyway, I mixed Mountain Dew with this energy drink. Anyway, enough about therapy. I want to talk about my childhood. I remember throwing snowballs. I remember playing this video game too, where it starts out as a snowball fight, and then you learn how to play tactically, like as if you're moving chess pieces in an intricate way. It's called Final Fantasy Tactics. You might know the game. I don't know. You might know Final Fantasy Tactics. Uh, anyway, I got really good at that game. I leveled up to a very high level. Then I got kind of stuck. Not stuck, but I got kind of trapped. I just couldn't beat the next party of people that I needed to beat. It's the same thing with Final Fantasy IV. I got to a really high level, and then I got I don't know, it glitched or something. I can't remember, but anyway, yeah, I remember I was playing that game in Chicago to witness I think it was my uncle's funeral. I'm not blood related to him, but my great uncle's funeral. That was years ago. That was when I was 10, so 20 years ago. I might have been 11. I think it was 10. Anyway. Yeah, and I used to play a lot of Pokemon. I had all the Pokemon games. I used to play outside a lot and pick cherries from my cherry tree and eat them. We made a cherry pie once too. That was pretty cool. But then the cherry tree started to die eventually, so yeah. I told them not to cut the branches off the cherry tree. Like my dad wanted to trim it down, and just because he's sadistic. And I told him, look, it's gonna die if you do that to it. It's a cherry tree, but he trimmed it, and then the cherry tree died. As I thought, and no, it wasn't dead beforehand, okay? I don't want to hear it. That cherry tree was the only tree that was the only thing that I had for comfort as a child. Sitting under it was my only comfort. Anyway, I stayed in that house until I was 20. No, until I was 20. And then I just walked out of it and then went back to my mom's place, stayed there and lived there for a while. in a different city. Uh, my original the house that I grew up in. Yeah, the house that I grew up in was in a large town, and my mom's crib or my mom's house is in a small city. As you can see, the push-ups are working. The winter arc. Anyway, uh, my childhood was a good one in a lot of ways. I remember I had sex for the first time when I was 12, and then I had sex again when I was 13, and I had sex again when I was 14. It's like every year I was just finding like a new girlfriend. And I had sex again when I was 15. Let me think, 16. Did I have sex when I was 16? What even happened that year? What year was it? 2010? No, I didn't have sex when I was 16, I think. When I was 17, I had sex with two girls. My age or whatever. Everybody's, we were all the same age in school or whatever. Uh, yeah. I've had a lot of women. Like I've had sex with a lot of women for somebody my size. Uh, I'm not talking about how fat I am right now. I wasn't fat in high school. I was thin. I just mean like my height. Like most short guys have a hard time, and I can't say that it's not really hard to get a woman. Sometimes it can be very tedious. If it's too tedious, I won't do it. But if it's just, straightforward, hey, how's it going? And then they like you, then yeah, then I'll go through with what I what I do. All right, I better end the video. I had a good childhood though, into a good adolescence. The only real problem that I had in my life were my parents, and they weren't around that much, but my especially my dad, but my mom too. Uh, they weren't really like they weren't at the house a lot, but which is good. But yeah, yeah. I just spent a lot of time alone or with my brother. So my brother moved on. He moved to a different city. He doesn't want anything to do with anybody. I don't want anything to do with him because he's a bit weird. He's a bit weird. Okay. Maybe he won't be in the future. I think he will be though. I don't think there's a way to change him. Uh, anyway, I don't know. I shouldn't have said that. See you later.